Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 612 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Daniel Bay, and our message is you can't do it alone and become memorable. Stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. Episode 612. Yep, you heard it. 612 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I have my good friend over here, Daniel Bay, like Bay Area Dan, not Bay Area Dan, because there's no Bay Area. And as we cook this one up, I have to let you guys know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. I know what it's like to be traffic throttled, shadow banned, and I think it's kind of sucky. So we've never censored anybody. Anybody that's talked to us over here at Hustle, you get heard. So that's a really cool thing. We do believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They are not the same things, but if you want to find that, go find a chiropractor and they'll help you with those things. If you go check out their Facebook page, they're always talking about things like, hey, don't do this and don't do that and stay away from this and stay away from that. And, you know, good leaders. We also protect BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. If you don't know what that is, go check out our show notes. Show notes are on the page. And if you are out there and you like what we're doing and you're on college campuses or something and you're not getting this type of conversation, share the show. Please share this to your friends and to your other professionals. Last month, I think we had something like 60,000 downloads, which I think is pretty cool. 6.5 years into this, people are still listening. So yeah, pats on the back, pats on the hands, do that. Subluxation-centered chiropractic is vital, and we have to get that into the college campuses. I know that there's about 18 of them on U.S. soil, and they're not getting that message. So we support that, subluxation-centered chiropractic. Innate intelligence, universal intelligence. That's our woo-woo part. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. That's some old D.D. Palmer stuff, by the way. And with that, Dan, welcome.
Hey, Jim. Got me all spizzed up, man.
I know.
I like it.
I know, right?
Oh, man, it's so funny. It's all these other things that are the distraction to the big idea. And so I appreciate that intro. I appreciate what you do for the profession. I appreciate the fact that you have been doing this, from what I count, for about a decade. I remember when I first met you, blast on the scenes. I'm like, who is this guy? And, non-Chiro, talking Chiro. What is he doing? And look at you later, baby. 10 years later, still cranking it out. 60,000 downloads. And in the world of downloads, if you guys do that, you should all know that is kind of a big deal. So they're glad to be on here with you, man. Glad to reconnect after all the years. Jim, we've gone through a lot, you and I both in our own rights for the past decade. So good to reconnect, talk to your crew again. I'm feeling good being here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like the morning show today for chiropractic. And I was hoping to reintroduce you to our growing group of people. You called them followers or something earlier, or you follow me, I follow you. By the way, cool content. If you guys aren't checking out Dan's shorts, YouTube him or TikTok him or Instagram him. Check out his group, CloseForChiro. Very deep in integrity, pushing the limit of what people feel comfortable with a lot of big topics around business, finance, marketing, coaching, the anti-coaching group, I think.
And chiropractic. Let's not forget. That's
Let's
the
not,
big
let's not,
idea. That's the big idea. Yeah.
yes. So jump into this one. Tell us a little bit about what people might need to know about who Daniel Bay is.
I'm gonna go a little different here. I'm in a bit of a mood today, so good for you, Jim. Good TV for your crew. But yeah, I'm feeling today a little bit sentimental, nostalgic. And if anyone has been following me for any length of time, that's not really my avatar. I'm usually curt, clever, politically incorrect, offensive, if provocative. And that's usually the way I like to roll online. There's many reasons I do that, but the main reason I do that is because that's my authentic me. I love humor. It is one of my core values. And I think that one of the things that we do not do enough is laugh together, One of the things we don't do is connect at a level that is more than skin deep. And I think right now, AI is here. Are you paying attention? The human frame, the human connection is in a bull market right now. Like that is now more important than ever. And so, the other part of me is this. It's the introspective and thinking about my identity, what that means. What's my big purpose here? Like, what am I trying to accomplish? Maybe this is a mid-professional crisis, if there is such a thing, That's kind of where I am right now, and that's what I'd like for your viewers to get a piece of this, because this is not something I normally put out in the general population. So yeah, we can talk about that stuff, but I'm just telling you right now, it's going to come out a little bit differently than what normally people would get from my shorts or my Instagram stuff, and that stuff is hilarious, and I have great fun doing that. But yeah, that's just me. Again, technicals, I'm a chiropractor just like everyone here. I'm in practice just like you. I'm CEO, founder of CloseForChiro. I don't want to talk too much about that. If you want to know about that, we can Google it. But that's who I am, man.
I think that the connection part is real. And that's what people, like you said, they're looking for that, authenticity. I was listening to Tony Robbins on my drive over here today to the studio. And he says, identity is the most powerful source in the human personality. And I think a lot of times when people think about who they are, and I listen to this guy, Andy Frisella, quite a bit. And he's very curt and brash and to the point, a lot like what you do, with a lot less humor than what you have. But I think on topic, when you think about people that are actually doing it, they always go back to one thing: personal relationship. They go back to how they connect with people, and how did they grow from being an apprentice of Jim Rohn, or how did they grow from being a brick and mortar to a click and order type operation. And I've seen you guys like really grow, and people support you as a brand simply from the powerful connection and the relationships you've built.
I will agree.
So we were talking, and I was like, yeah, man, attention's the new currency. And you were like, actually, I think authenticity is the new currency. So elaborate on that a little bit.
I can only give my personal experience, because I went through the first 10 years of my career trying to be someone that I was not. So the only way I got to this point with this realization was the fact that I saw the other side. By the way, I just want to shout out Danny Gambino and Lance Zuimida. They just hopped on here. Two awesome guys. And the only thing I remember when I was trying to be someone that I was not, or trying to be someone that I thought I needed to be, especially as it pertains to, a modern chiropractor in this generation, is I know it was absolutely fucking exhausting, Jim. All right. It's so tiresome. Like, oh my God, like I gotta be a certain way. I gotta wear a certain tie. I have to speak a certain way. I can't say this. I have to say that. And it's like, I did that for the first half of my career, and I don't really even think that I'm fully recovered from the ramifications of that in the first 10 years of my career, to be honest. It was very destructive. It was incredibly fatiguing. And I don't wish that upon anyone, to be honest with you, especially my brothers and sisters in chiropractic, because I care for you guys deeply and I want the very best for you. And so much heart and so much talent out there that gets unnoticed, stifled, depressed, and unrealized. And that it's a crying shame. I believe that chiropractic is one of the, if not the most underrated and unrealized potential talent and gift to the world today. And that's the truth. And we can't do it by ourselves. That's the thing. We can't do it from individual practitioner to individual practitioner, because we all tried that. And if you guys are listening right now, and I'm striking a nerve about this feeling of loneliness in chiropractic, maybe put a comment down there. It'll help me out. Let me know I'm not alone in this either, or I'm just making this stuff in my head. But I think chiros just are there's too many lone wolves out there, man. And that's why, Jim, when you bring up relationships, that is critical, not only for humanity, but for the profession. Like we have to do this together. And if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, I got this all figured out, I can do it on my own, good luck is what I'm going to say. Good luck. You ask any veteran that has done any good work for the past 20, 30 years, they will absolutely sit you down and be like, are you freaking crazy? You cannot do this on your own. You can't. There's no possible way you can do this on your own. My two great partners, Sean Rundle, Jen Rosenhart, like we have the same, prescribed to the same thing, as we're partners, because you can't do it alone. My late partner, Barry Anderson, one of his core beliefs, you can't do this alone, And so, I went on a tangent. Sorry, Jim. But back to the question at hand, authenticity. Yeah. You can't be someone you're not. That's not sustainable. And the destruction that comes from that is incredible. It's so overwhelming that I don't wish that upon anyone. So in today's day and age, and this feeds into the marketing world and the sales world, because, when I talk marketing and sales, understand, like, it's not just a thing. Marketing and sales is the epitome of marketing and sales is relationships, and about authenticity, and about connection. So if you're going into marketing and sales and you're building your business and you don't have the fundamentals of what a real relationship looks like in that particular environment, then you've already missed the boat, because now sales and marketing has just become transactional, as opposed to sales and marketing actually being a transformational thing. And that's how I like to approach it. So back to authenticity. Everybody wants to see it. Nobody wants to do it. There's so much fear that's blocked up in so many of you that you're afraid to be your authentic self, especially if you know it's a flaw. And I want to let you know out there, some of your biggest flaws is some of your biggest strengths. Some of your biggest flaws, when confessed to and embraced as your unique self, do you understand how much more impact you have, how much more relationship capital that you carry, as opposed to trying to figure out, oh, what do I want to do and how do I want to do it? How does it make me look good? How do I pad my resume? No, it's not how it works anymore. So authenticity is the new currency, and that's how I like to roll. So yeah, and here's the double-edged sword of this. Not everyone will like your authentic self. And
Nailed it.
yeah, and that's the problem. And And I'm going to argue that if you don't have people that are on a consistent level telling you that they don't like you, I'm going to argue that you're not playing big enough. Plain and simple. You're not playing big enough. Because if you're truly being your authentic self at a level that you should be at, natural law of the universe is that it's not going to resonate with anyone, and you're going to, by definition, polarize your audience, right? But guess what? At the end of the day, you're sleeping well at night. You're not completely fatigued at home. And the person that gets destroyed in this situation where you're not being your authentic self is you. You gave nothing, and you gave everything. Now, I'm not standing up here telling you I figured this whole thing out. Yeah, I deal with identity issues. I deal with, what am I trying to accomplish here? What am I doing? Who am I as a person? If I wasn't a Chiro and I wasn't CEO, founder of CloseForChiro, like, what am I? What's left? What kind of dad am I? What kind of husband am I? Like, what kind of son am I? And I gotta tell you, man, I haven't figured all of that stuff out either. And I don't think it's something that you should figure out. It's just, bottom line, you just do the best you can with what you got right now, and then that's the best you can do, right? But those are the questions that I think we should be asking. I'm sorry, I just kind of went off on a pontification. I apologize. What time is it? What day is it? Are you still with me? People listening to this, Jim?
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. It's somewhere different time zone in Australia right now. I can guarantee you that. And actually, Australia loves our show. The Penalty of Leadership. Danny Gambino just posted here. Theodore McManus, 1910. Yep. Actually, I just gave a talk out in Pennsylvania to the Pennsylvania Chiropractic Association group. And I covered the Penalty of Leadership in my talk. And the first time I ever saw that was from Billy DeMoss. Talk about a guy that just lets it rip and foams at the mouth and gets those things around his like lips, like the corners of his mouth, because he's so like fired up about like this profession and telling people to protect their families and children and, stand up for chiropractic. Yeah.
Yeah, look at him. He's a great example. He's just being his authentic self.
Dude likes to surf. He likes to play music, and he likes to like bring people together.
Absolutely. And he has his people who absolutely love him, and he has people who absolutely probably detest him.
But he sleeps well at night, I'm pretty sure.
That's right, baby. That's right. Yeah, good shout out, man. That guy is incredible.
I made a post the other day, and I said, people are so afraid of saying and doing what they actually should be saying and doing. Why? And I think that leads into what you were saying there about authenticity. People are really afraid of their own identity. And to circle back to the thing that I shared about Tony Robbins, identity is the most powerful source in the human personality. So if we're not tapping into that, if we're not like going into who we really should be like developing into, like, it's always going to be transactional.
Always. That's the default. That's where it defaults. Correct.
From the marriage you have to the children you raise, to the profession that you support. Transaction. And then, here you go, Dr. Dan. I posted this shortly after that. Change is automatic. Progress is not. Change is automatic. Progress is not. Like, we don't get to choose if it changes on us or not. It's going to happen. But you progress through that. That's the developmental stage of it. And that's one of the things is I really appreciate, as you said, your pontification to admit that we don't have it all figured out, and that's okay.
And that's okay. Right. And for the perfectionists out there, and this is the toughest one, it's okay. Yeah. You're not supposed to figure it out. But what about bringing your people onto a journey of you figuring it out? I mean, I'd watch that. I would follow that. And like when I think about, I pay attention to what I watch and what I follow and why. And the media, the types of media that I love are the people who roll the cameras and they haven't figured it out yet, and they just go. So I just want to drop a YouTube channel that I have been following for I think 5 years now, and it's called Sailing Nahoa. It's a YouTube channel of a couple that they started, that they bought a catamaran, a 40 something foot catamaran, and embarked to sail around the world. On this journey, 5 years, they had 2 kids, and it's awesome. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen. They didn't script this out. They're just sailing around the world, okay? 2 sailing instructors from Ohio or something, sailing around the world with their 2 young children, going to like indigenous islands in like the coast of Africa. Just some crazy shit. And then I watch that, and I'm like, why am I watching this? I don't plan on sailing around the world. I'm not really into boats. Why am I watching this? And I tell you, that's why. Because I like to follow the journey of people that are trying to find themselves and find their identity over a long period of time, and watching that. So if you really think about it, like, and business owners out there or people with a passion or purpose, like, nobody wants someone who's already figured it out. It's not authentic. It's not real anymore, So yeah, so that's what I have to say about that.
Well, I just finished reading 2 books by Sid Williams on lasting purpose. And I was just really impressed by the way that guy created a movement. One of the things you're talking about, like, when you become so real, you become the brand. Like, imagine being that guy having social media.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like, he took a patch of land and created a chiropractic university that became the biggest in the world.
Hoorah. I mean, really think about it, Jim. If you really look at that's incredible stuff. I took that for granted while I was in school, because who is this guy? Just to stand up and the keys dropped, and I'd clap. I'm like, what am I doing here? I didn't understand. But 23 years later after graduation, what he's done and the things that he's said resonate with me now more than they ever have in the past. But yeah, it's incredible stuff.
Well, I mean, I even talked to people that like were around that era, the last like chapter of his time, and like considered him kind of hokey. And I'm like, the dude's like the biggest general for chiropractic that walks.
Yeah.
And he might have been himself authentically, like all the way to a fault.
Right. Yeah. And listen, not everyone liked him. Okay? Not everyone liked him.
They burned his clinics down.
Let's go back to the year 2000. Okay? Or I'm sorry, the year 2002, when that whole shit went down with the accreditation and all that whole story. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is.
However, he stood in the gap always, and he protected the sacred trust. He did what was right for the profession at all fronts. And I think that as I got through his second book this morning, I was like, man, like, I always kind of ask people, not always, but sometimes during my show, I say, hey, who are your influences? Like, who are some of your heroes? Who's inspired you to become the person you are? And like the real good chiropractors that like love their mom and dad will be like, oh, mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the real, green book thumpers, they'll be like, BJ all the way. Very seldom have I ever heard anybody acknowledge Sid Williams.
Well, he the man. What can I say? He made it all possible, at least for me. So I will be forever grateful. But that brings me to the next thing about, leaving a legacy and, what do you want to leave? And, depending on how old you are when you're watching this, it's a thing that comes up. But speaking about what we're talking about is being memorable. And again, this is a sales and marketing lesson because, again, sales and marketing is it's not about the transaction, it's about the transformation. So when you're talking about you doing you, we have to be memorable. And right now, especially with the attention span of our world, the average consumer of information, their taste has improved. So they're not like saying a McDonald's burger is great anymore. They're like, what is this shit? Now their taste has evolved into a beautiful piece of A5 Wagyu. Like they go, oh, I like that. They can discern the differences between the shit and the great. That's our marketplace right now, And what they want, obviously, is authenticity. Absolutely. Because they can say, I like that. That for some reason, I like that. And so being memorable is a part of being your authentic self, because if you're in a room with people wearing the same white shirt, khaki pants, right? You leave that room and be like, I couldn't tell this for that. I couldn't tell him from her, because they're all kind of wearing the same thing, right? And that's not where we're at anymore. We're in an anti-conformity society right now. And I like that, because that will promote more uniqueness and authenticity. And some of you are probably listening to this. I don't like that. I don't want uniqueness. There's no order to that. That's chaos. Well, au contraire, mon frère. I'm going to argue that till the day I die. That conformity is ultimately, I'm calling it now, is going to be a cancer in our society. That if everyone conforms, that is the worst thing that can happen to the human framing condition. Worst thing. Because even genetically, we're not designed that way. So sociologically and emotionally and relationship-wise, how could it be that way? I have two boys. They're two completely different animals. Jim, how the fuck is that possible? Spawned by the same two people. How are these two people completely different kids? Right? Now, how is that? And we want to conform everyone, and you want to see conformity because in the name of like order? Are you kidding me? That would be the worst thing that could happen. So I'm not trying to get political here, but you got the whole LGBTQ plus movement. You got all this stuff, Okay, not non-political. I vote right down the middle. Okay, I don't care, right? So, but even that, for whether or not I like that or not, my perspective is good. You know what? That's okay. That is how it's supposed to be. Everyone's different. Everyone is promoting their own identity. Great. Like, and then let's bring it back to the chiropractic profession. Like, so many critics have said, "Oh, the reason why chiropractic is not thrived in over 100 years is because they're not conforming. They're not together. They're not doing the same thing as a profession. No,
they're not dentists.
Correct. And again, I'm going to argue this is that the mere fact that we have been independently, uniquely doing our own thing is the very reason we've survived this long, because we've actually started with the fundamental and a foundation of what chiropractic is or isn't back in the day. Now that is being threatened absolutely right now, but there's a reason why we didn't get killed with everything that was thrown at us for the last 100 years. Okay, let's just do that. Everyone wants to talk about why chiropractic is not where it needs to be. Okay, fine, I'll talk about that. But let's also talk about how the hell did we survive? There's nothing. I can't find one single other example of a new profession that was founded in that century that survived 120 years. survived. Like, it didn't get snuffed out or assimilated or bought out. But chiropractic did. Let's give some credence to that. Let's study that and see how that whole thing happened. It certainly didn't happen because we were all doing the same thing, because we weren't. Certainly didn't happen because, we knew exactly what we were doing. You had it all figured out. Like, we knew exactly what the adjustment did or it didn't do. We didn't figure it out. We're still figuring it out, right? But how the fuck did we do that? How did we survive? It's a great question to ask, okay? Instead of why are we not where we need to be?
Well, turn back the time. I was 30 years old, okay? I'll be 45 in October, or 46, sorry, October. Been working in some facet within this profession for 15 years. You mentioned a decade. I've been going hard in the paint for 15 years. The past decade, my bat symbol flashed up to the chiropractic world, and I said, I'm here. And you got a chance to see that, and we've been, corresponding for some time now. I remember the first time I met you, it was freaking phenomenal. It's like, this guy is genius. Like, whatever he's doing, people need to pay attention to this. And that's what has happened with rebels within this profession, is they have created an identity of saying, hey, we're survivors. And if we can't do it in that model, we're going to do it in this model. Mm-hmm. And that's been really the antithesis of what I saw being spoon-fed into the profession. Like, do it this way. Here you guys go. Like, the profession just kept baby birding each other. Mm-hmm. And mama bird would like feed when it was squawking. And, I saw that happening over time. And then I caught on to what you were originally doing with your day 1, day 2 group. And I was like, this dude's closing. And they're teaching these principles. And when I was just a mere traction tech working inside of a chiropractic biophysics office, right, my guys were studying your stuff. Yeah. And they would every once in a while have me look over their shoulder and peer at what the conversation was going on inside of the tank. And I would be like, whoo, this is getting hot in here. These guys are actually talking about chiropractic business. And I appreciated that. I really did. And I know that there's
the nerve of us, Jim, to talk about business and chiropractic. Ooh, the nerve.
Yeah. So I know we're at the end of our time. We didn't get a chance to talk about how closing is an ugly word. And I know you got a hot debate coming up with Evan Katz. So I won't pull too much of that information out of you, but close out for 30 seconds. Tell me what you got.
Sure, man. All I got to say is I love chiropractic. I love everything it stands for. It has given me, in my life personally, almost everything. It has given me everything professionally. And we have to do what we do in order for us to take this profession where it should be. No longer underrated, no longer chiseled, no longer treated like this redheaded stepchild. We should be a force to be reckoned with. And that's why I do what I do. That's all I got. And yeah, I have a professional debate at the top of the hour. You can find it on our business page, and we'll go to that. I mean, that's another exercise in development, of professional development, because that's another thing. We don't have tough conversations in this profession enough. Everyone's afraid, like, again, trying to conform. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, or I don't want to say how I really feel. No, fuck that, man. Come on. Let's have a conversation, like, a proper way, without, getting butthurt or telling people they're stupid and resort to name calling. Like, that's been Chiro. No, let's have the tough conversations. Let's talk about, what is the adjustment really doing? And can you get off the subluxation model for a second to maybe think about this way? Can you get off the evidence-based model for a second? Just look at it this way. I mean, these are the tough conversations we should be having in chiropractic. You know what I'm saying? And if we can do that, next level stuff, that's when we graduate to the next level. But we're not doing that yet. And I'm hopefully trying to change that.
Well, I appreciate you being on for episode 612 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's been an honor to have you on today. Hats off to you. Thanks for doing what you do. Small but mighty, this profession. I stood alone at 30 years old saying, what am I going to dedicate my future to as a journalist and as a marketer? and I was bartending at the time. And I said, well, I'm from Davenport, Iowa. This is the birthplace of chiropractic. I'm going to go help this profession. So
Right
with
on,
that,
man, right on.
I really appreciate you being on the show today. Anybody that wants to go check out Dan, check out CloseForChiro. Like he said, Google him, and I'm going to let him go. He's going to go do some cool stuff, and I will too. And like I always close out, I tell you guys, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.